If you love great music and some gentle banter, you're in the right place. Listen to RadioCare, broadcasting from Coventry.
Hello and welcome to Radio Care. There's an extra show this week. I decided to do a pre-recorded show and to do my normal live show on a Saturday. So this one is dedicated to punk music and new wave music. So it takes you on a bit of a musical journey from the start of punk to the end, almost the end of new wave. So to get us started, we have Iggy and the Stooges from 1969 and I Wanna Be Your Dog. And that was I Wanna Be Your Dog from the Stooges, which was Iggy Pop's band from 1969, from their self-titled debut album, It was considered a proto-punk sound, and I know you're probably all thinking, well, punk never really started till 1976. Well, for us in the UK, it did start sort of in 1976, but in America, they were sort of slightly ahead of us, and they were sort of experimenting with different sounds, and that song in particular was a classic punk sound, playing free chords and sort of thrashing the sounds out with lots of distortion. So this next one is one from MC5 from 1970, also a US band, and this one is called Tutti Frutti.
Bum 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 tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy. Bum 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 bum, I got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. Got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. She knows how to love me, yes indeed. Boy, you don't know what you're doing to me, tutti frutti. Oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum, I got a girl named Sue. I said she knows just what to do. I got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do. She bop to the east, bop to the west. She's a gal that I love best. Tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy. Bum bum bam boom. Ha.
And that was MC5, Tutti Frutti, which was Little Richard's song. This one was from 1970, and from their album Kick Out the Jams. Again, they were another band that were sort of from the proto-punk sound, sort of dissatisfied with sort of the psychedelic music of the late 60s. They wanted something a little bit different, and they came up with it. Although they did like sort of rock and roll music and that sort of rock and roll style. So this next one was one that got Malcolm McLaren quite excited. He went over to New York to see them a couple of times, and this is the New York Dolls from 1973 and a song called Trash.
Merci beaucoup, français. C'est bon, très bien. Dig donc où est la bibliothèque. Les trash, les garbage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Trash, pick it up. Take down blocks, no way. Trash, pick it up. Take your life away. Trash, pick it up. Try to take my life away. So please don't you ask me if I love you. Cause I don't know what I'm doing, but you know
that was the New York Dolls and Trash from 1973. It was from their self-titled album and released as a double A side to the song Personality Crisis in July of 1973. Again, they were classed as a proto-punk glam rock band. They very much had sort of that glam rock look about them, but you can start to hear the punk sound sort of developing at that stage. So this next one is one from The Damned. It's from 1976, so it came out, I think, about a month before the Sex Pistols released their first single, and this one is New Rose.
Is she really going out with him?
Strange like a stormy sea. I don't know why, I don't know why. I guess these things have gotta be. I've got a new rose, I've got a good. Yes, I knew that I always would. I can't stop to mess around. I got a brand new rose in town. See the sun it shines. Don't get too close or it'll burn your eyes. Don't you run away that way. You can come back another day. I've got a new rose, I've got a good. Yes, I knew that I always would. I can't stop to mess around. I got a brand new rose in town. I never thought this could happen to me. I feel so strange. Oh, why should it be? I don't deserve somebody this great. I better go, or it'll be too late. It's kinda strange like a stormy sea. I don't know why, I don't know why. I guess these things have gotta be. I got a new rose, I got a good. Yes, I knew that I always would. I can't stop to mess around. I got a brand new rose in town. Whoa.
And that was The Damned and New Rose from 1976, released on Stiff Records, and in 1977 it was released in Netherlands, Germany and France. It's considered to be the first single by a British punk band, and the B-side of the single was a cover of the Beatles' Help, obviously performed at twice the original speed. They did take a lot of influence from the Stooges, the Dolls and MC5, and they were having a bit of a dig at the sort of feel-goods and hot rods pub sort of rock sound that was sort of happening around about that same time. So very shortly after that was released, the Sex Pistols released their first single. Now I was going to play that, but I decided sort of to go for one which I used to sing sort of in a band that I was in, and this one is Holiday in the Sun.
Holiday in other people's misery.
And that was the Sex Pistols and Holiday in the Sun from 1977. It was from their only album, and Never Mind the Bollocks, and here's the Sex Pistols. The single charted at number 8 in the UK singles charts and proved to be the last with the singer John Lydon for over 30 years until they had their reunion. I think it was at Finsbury Park. Steve Jones and Paul Cook recorded one more single, No One Is Innocent, with Ronnie Biggs. And the band imploded after that, and Sid Vicious recorded solo covers of My Way and Something Else under the Pistols' name. So there we have it for the Sex Pistols. So this next one is a little bit later, sort of almost after the sort of punk era, but they had that sort of punk sound and that punk feel, and there were still sort of some punk bands around, but it kind of sort of changed. Punk was sort of like moving in sort of a different direction, and this one is from the Ruts, and it's Babylon Burning from 1979.
You'll burn the street. You'll burn your houses with anxiety. With anxiety. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning with anxiety. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning. You'll burn the street. You'll burn the ghetto with anxiety. With anxiety. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning with anxiety. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning, baby. Can't you see? Babylon is burning with anxiety. You'll burn at your work. You'll burn at your play. The spark of fear is smoldering with ignorance and hate, and with anxiety. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning with anxiety. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning, baby. Can't you see? Babylon is burning with anxiety. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning. Babylon is burning. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning. Babylon's burning.
And that was the Ruts, Babylon's Burning from 1979, featured on the album Crack, and the album contains the UK singles Babylon's Burning, which reached number 7 on the UK singles charts, and Something That I Said, which reached number 29 in the UK singles charts again, both in 1979. The White Reggae Jar War, which was written in the aftermath of the Southall unrest and the overuse of the force by the Metropolitan Police Service Special Patrol Group. I remember them doing something like that on The Young Ones, kept going on about the SPG. Also, it was also released as a single, but did not make it into the UK singles charts. Okay. Well, that didn't sort of make any sense. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, got it. They're talking about this other song. Anyway, let's move on swiftly. So the next song is from one of my favourite bands from that time. It's from The Jam, and The Jam are very much a mod band, but at that time, to break in sort of like to the music scene, to get a record deal, they just up-tempoed their music and sort of played in a punk style. So this one is from 1977, and this one is In the City. What a fantastic track that is. That is Inner City from The Jam. It was a debut single and from the album of the same name in 1977. Reached number 40 on the UK singles charts, making it their first top 40 single and the beginning of a streak of 18 consecutive top 40 singles. It says why the album was not particularly successful in the UK. The song was the UK's first introduction to the Jam, with the characteristics Paul Weller's youth anthems, mod influence, celebration of British youth that dominated the band's early output. Musically, the song was in the vein of the band's first album, a mod punk number influenced by The Who's early music, but with the energy and attitude updated for the punk era. As I said, they had to sort of speed it up a bit to get a contract. So we weren't the only country. The UK weren't sort of like the only sort of countries that was looking and listening sort of to different sounds at that time, sort of listening to the punk sort of invasion, you could say, which was sort of storming America or parts of America, because very much sort of like their music is quite sort of divided over there. But Australia really embraced the punk scene, and this is from an Australian band called The Saints, and it's their version of the Tina Turner, or Ike and Tina Turner maybe, River Deep Mountain High.
When you were a young girl, did you have a right dog? The only dog that you ever owned. I'm gonna love you just the way that you love that right dog. But I'm here now, baby, my love has gone. And it gets stronger, I bet every day. And it gets deeper, darling, let me say. And it gets higher, baby, yeah. And darling, I know I love you, honey, my. Yeah, river deep, I'm out of the top. Yeah. I lost you, baby, would I cry? You can bet your life now, baby, my little baby. When I was a young boy, used to have a puppy that always followed me around. I'm gonna be just as faithful as a puppy. If baby, no, never let you down. Cause my love gets stronger, honey, every day. And it gets deeper, darling, let me say. And it gets higher, baby, yeah. And darling, I love you, honey, my. Yeah, river deep, I'm out of this high. Yeah. I lost you, baby, would I cry? You can bet your life now, baby, my little baby. Baby, like them rapping love the same. And I love you, darling, like them flowers love the spring. And I love you, baby, like a newborn love the fire. And I love you, baby, river deep, a mountain high. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby, yeah. I love you, my. Yeah,
minus high. Yeah, 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 yeah. I lost you, baby, would I cry? You can bet your life now, baby, baby, my little baby.
And that was the Saints, River Deep Mountain High from 1977. The band actually formed in 1973. They're from Brisbane. And their early influence was very much sort of a rock sound. But they were labelled as a punk band because, like the American punk rock band, the Ramones, the Saints were employing the fast tempos, raucous vocals and buzzsaw guitars, which was characteristic with early punk rock. Their debut single, I'm Stranded, came out in 1976, and they became the first punk rock band outside the US to release a record ahead of better-known bands, including the Sex Pistols and The Clash. And they were considered one of the first and most influential groups of the punk scene. There you have it. So this next one is going back to the States. This is from the Ramones, again from 1977, and this one is Sheena as a Punk Rocker.
Well, if the kids are all hopped up and ready to go, they're ready to go now. They got their circle, they're going to the discotheque to go. But she just couldn't stand. She had to break away. Well, New York City really has it all. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Sheena is a bone rocker. Sheena is a punk rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker now. Sheena is a bone rocker. Sheena is a punk rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker now. Well, she's a bone rocker, bone, a bone rocker, bone, a bone rocker, bone, a bone rocker. Well, if the kids are all hopped up and ready to go, they're ready to go now. They got their circles and they're going to the discotheque, go. But she just couldn't stand. She had to break away. Well, New York City really has it all. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Sheena is a bone rocker. Sheena is a punk rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker now. Sheena is a bone rocker. Sheena is a punk rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker now. But she's a bone rocker, bone, a bone rocker, bone, a bone rocker, bone, a bone rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker. Sheena is a punk rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker now. Sheena is a bone rocker. Sheena is a punk rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker now. Sheena is a bone rocker. Sheena is a punk rocker. Sheena is a bone rocker now.
Was Sheena really a punk rocker? That was the Ramones, and Sheena is a punk rocker from 1977. The Ramones are an American punk rock band released in 1977. The song appeared on the band's third solo album, Rocket to Russia, and was written by frontman and lead vocalist Joey Ramone, and shows Joey's early 60s influence of surf rock and bubblegum pop. Yeah, I get that. I think a lot of the punk bands were still sort of influenced from that sort of rock and roll sort of sound of the late 50s, and maybe some of the surf sounds of the sort of very early 60s. They just sort of sped it up a bit and added a bit more sort of distortion to it. The song first appeared in the charts in May 1977 as a single in the UK, where it charted at number 22 on the UK singles charts. In the US, it was released as a single in July of 77 and reached number 81 on the Billboard Hot 100. So it was more popular in the UK, and I think we sort of found that with a lot of the bands that sort of sprung up in America, and then just came over to the UK because we really embraced their music. So this next one is one from the Skids. It's a song called Into the Valley, and it's from 1979. And that was the Skids, Into the Valley from 1979, and taken off their Sacred to Dance album, and is the best known song by the band. I think I remember another one of their songs, I'm sure it was called Circus Games. That I'm not sure whether that actually came out just after Stuart Adamson left the band to go and form Big Country, but you can almost sort of hear that sort of sound. And Jobson has said that the lyrics were written about the recruitment of Scottish youth into the army, and more specifically about a friend who had been killed whilst on tour in Northern Ireland. So a lot of songs were quite sort of political at that time, probably more so than they are nowadays. So this next one's got very much a French feel. In fact, it's all in French. And this is from the Plastic Bertrams, and this one is Ça Plane Bleu Moi, and that's from 1977.
Bam, bam.
lit à bouffer sa langue en buvant, prends mon whisky quant à moi, peu dormi, vie débris, mais j'ai dû dormir dans la gouttière où j'ai eu un flash. En 4 couleurs. Allez hop, un matin, une louloute est venue chez moi, poupée de cellophane, cheveux chinois, un sparadrap, une gueule de bois, a bu ma bière dans un grand verre en caoutchouc, comme un indien dans son igloo. Ça plane pour moi, ça plane pour moi, ça plane pour moi, moi, ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, la nana, quel panard, quelle vibration de s'envoyer sur paillasson, limé, ruiné, vidé, comblé. You are the king of the divan, qu'elle me dit en passant. I am the king of the divan. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, t'occupe, t'inquiète, touche pas ma planète. It's not today que le ciel me tombera sur la tête et que la colle me manquera. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, ma nana, c'est tiré, c'est barré, enfin c'est marre à tout casser. L'évier, le bar me laissant seul, comme un grand connard. Le pied dans le plat. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Moi. Ça plane pour 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 moi. Moi. Ça plane pour moi.
RadioCare wants to thank all carers around the world. Paid and unpaid, you are all amazing.
Well, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I really wanted to put this set together because I like punk music and I was in a punk band for a while. And I also like sort of what followed from there. A lot of the punk bands went on to create more of a new wave sound, which was a lot more polished and a lot more poppy, I suppose. It sort of gave them a chance sort of to get into the charts a lot more. Anyway, that previous song, that was the Plastic Bertrams and Ça Plane Bleu Moi from 1977. It got to number 8 in the UK singles charts in the summer of 78. So it was released in 77, probably in the rest of Europe. Didn't get to England or the UK until 78. Regarded as a punk song, or a punk parody, the band have actually sort of been described more as a new wave band, and the song's name is an expression that's best translated as "everything's going well for me." There you go. Or it could be said, "it is gliding for me." Okay. This next one is by a band that I really did like, sort of from that sort of era. And I did go on into the 80s for a bit. This one's by The Clash, and I always sort of really liked sort of Joe Strummer. I always thought he looked really cool. And the whole band, really, because although they were a punk band, they kind of sort of embraced that sort of rockabilly sort of look with the coiffed hair and sort of them rockabilly sort of type shirts, but they really did sort of have that sort of energy sort of with the punk sound. Anyway, this one is called Tommy Gun, and it's from 1978. was The Clash and Tommy Gun from 1978. It was from their album Give 'Em Enough Rope. Joe Strummer said that he got the idea for the song when he was thinking about terrorists and how they probably enjoy reading about their killings as much as a movie star likes to read their film reviews. And Topper Hedden, who was he the drummer? Trying to think. Mimics the sound of the Gangsters movie shooting with the quick snare hits, and the guitars are full of distortion and feedback. So there you have it. That was a Clash. I really did like them. I thought they were a good band, and I can still sort of listen to them today because they kind of sort of changed their sound as well. I wouldn't say they become new wave. They were quite sort of true to that sort of punk sound, but that they sort of smoothed out the edges and developed sort of a more polished sort of sound. Anyway, this next one is another one from 1978. It's from Susie and the Banshees. Now, Susie and the Banshees are very much a band which can be associated sort of with the sort of goth sort of fashion and sort of sound, which sort of like really developed in the very late 70s and sort of through the 80s. As we know, it's sort of like with The Cure, The Cult, and them sort of types of bands. But this was her in her sort of punk era, and this one is Hong Kong Garden. And that was Susie and the Banshees and Hong Kong Garden from 1978. It reached number 7 on the UK singles charts and became one of the first post-punk hits. So probably, yeah, that's probably right. Sort of like as we were sort of coming out of the sort of punk era and sort of moving more to the sort of new wave sound. But I would say that she still sort of had that sort of punk edge to her sound. At a John Peel session, Critic Ian Birch reviewed The Cure's song "Killing an Arab" in 1979, and saying, as in Hong Kong Garden, it uses a simple Oriental style riff and sort of with a striking effect, as in Killing an Arab, conjures up an edginess through the Moorish flavour guitar patterns. Yeah, and I can get that. I can sort of hear sort of where they're sort of like going with that. I actually like that song by The Cure. And that sort of sound that gives that sort of more of that sort of Arabian sort of sound to it, and liking this one with the sort of Oriental, you could say sort of Chinese or Japanese sort of sound. Anyway, this next song is from a band called the Rosillos, released again 1978, and the song is called Top of the Pops. Here we go. And that was the Rosillos' Top of the Pops from 1978. Now, the Rosillos were a Scottish band from Edinburgh, considered a punk new wave band, formed in 1976. Although emerging at the same time as the other bands in the punk rock movement, the Rosillos did not share the same nephilisim or social commentary as their contemporaries, but instead took a more light-hearted approach to their songs, preferring to describe themselves at the time as new wave beat group, very heavily influenced by the 50s rock and roll, the English sort of beat music and garage rock, and some of the early sort of glam rock sounds. A lot of their themes of their songs were very much sort of science fiction and sort of B-movies, and it very much sort of mirrored what was happening in America with bands sort of like the Cramps and sort of B-52s. And it was their only top 20 single. So So this next one is one from Generation X. Generation X was the band that Billy Idol started in. This one's from 1979, and this one is Valley of the Dolls.
Into the valley of the dolls. Into the valley of the dolls. Into the valley of the dolls. When the gang of song number one, the rhythm of amping, drummer beats down full rock ranking, a bass so deep, thud spine shaking, and all around, mad eyes are rolling. Made up and stunning, as the beat gets moving, as the pressure rising. White faces staring as into the valley of the dolls go the gang of four. Boom, bop, basher, song after song, rock can't stop rocking. 100 watts scream, man, my ears are bleeding. Hot bodies charged, blonde locks are given, and all around, young girls are fainting. Her hearts are pumping as the spikes are dancing. Skank goes skanking. Hearts on love vibrating as into the valley of the dolls go the galloping. Into the valley of the dolls. Into the valley of the dolls. As into the valley of the four skulls are splitting, 5 fingers kicking, 6 strings are burning, 7 power roads, legs are stopping, 5 leaving, 10,000 closing, heads generating as into the valley of the dolls. Into the valley of the dolls. Into the valley. Into the valley of the dolls.
And that was Into the Valley of the Dolls from Generation X from 1979. Like I say, Generation X was Billy Idol's. I said it was his first band, but he was actually in the band Chelsea for a short time, along with the guitarist, I'm trying to think his name, Tony James. And they had sort of like a few sort of hits as Generation X. And then when they split up... My microphone's playing up. When they split up, Billy Idol went solo and Tony James went on to join Zig Sputnik and also Sisters of Mercy. So this next one is one from the members, and this one is called Sounds of the Suburbs.
Same old boring Sunday morning, old man Bells, walking the car. Mum's in the kitchen, cooking Sunday dinner, her best meal, moaning while it lasts. Johnny's upstairs in his bedroom, sitting in the dark, annoying the neighbour.
This is the sound. This is the sound of the suburbs. This is the sound of the suburbs.
If you haven't worked it out, that one was called This Is the Sound of the Suburbs, or The Sound of the Suburbs, by the Members, which was recorded and released in 1979. Now, the Members are a British punk band that originated from Camberley in Surrey, and in the UK, they're best known for this single, which reached number 12 on the UK singles charts, and in Australia, their single Radio reached number 5 in 1982. Now, smash hits, who remembers getting sort of smash hits? I know you used to sort of like get it for the lyrics, just sort of like see what they were, sort of like for any of the songs that were sort of out in the charts that I liked at the time. But they used to do some reviews of bands or particular songs or albums. And Smash Hits said that the Members are supposed to be one of the hottest post-punk rock bands around, but I have my doubts. They're disposable pop rather than committed rock. Through their cocky, soccer-crowded style, has some good clever touches. All Music called it the only Members album worth owning. Well, that's just a matter of opinion, isn't it? Whatever you like, people are going to buy it. So this next one is one from, I was going to say the Queen of Punk, but she weren't really. She's probably Queen of New Wave. This one is from Blondie. And this one is Hanging on the Telephone from 1978.
I'm in the phone booth, it's the one across the hall. If you don't answer, I'll just ring it off the wall. I know who's there, but I just try to call. Leave me hanging on the telephone. Leave me hanging on the telephone. All those things
You got to love a bit of Blondie, haven't you? And that was Hanging on the Telephone from 1978. Now, the song was first performed by the short-lived US West Coast power pop band The Nerves, and then later recorded in 78 by Blondie. They were actually given the tape through one of their contacts, and they liked it that much. They recorded it and included it on their third album, which I probably consider their best album, Parallel Lines. I think everyone that I know that was sort of into music had that album at some stage. The single was top 5 in the UK and has since been a critical acclaim as one of the band's best songs. It does say that Blondie released their cover of Hanging on the Telephone, blah blah blah. Let's have a look. Both in the US and UK, the single failed to chart in the US. That's really strange, isn't it? I would have thought that would have done really well over there. But obviously, like it says, did really well sort of in the UK. The single was a moderate hit throughout Europe, reaching top 20 in Ireland, Belgium and the Netherlands. So there we have it. We've had a bit of Blondie. So the next one is from the Pretenders. Now, again, they were another band that sort of like started out in that sort of punk era and then sort of became more famous and more well-known sort of as it sort of developed into the new wave scene. And this is one of their favourite songs, written by Chrissie Hynde and James Honeyman Scott. And this one is Brass in Pocket.
Got brass in pocket, gunpowder, I'm gonna use it. Intention of feeling mental, gonna make you notice. Got motion, restrained emotion. I've been diving, detour leaning. No reason, just seems so pleasing. Gonna make you notice. Gonna use my arms, gonna use my legs, gonna use my style, gonna use my side step, gonna use my fingers, gonna use my imagination. No one like me. I'm special, so special. I gotta have some of your attention. Give it to me. I got rhythm, I can't miss a beat. I got new skank, so reach. I got something I'm winking at you. Notice. Gonna use my arms, gonna use my legs, gonna use my style, gonna use my side step, gonna use my fingers, gonna use my imagination. Cause I gonna make you see there's nobody else here, no one like me. Like me, I'm special, so special. I gotta have some of your attention. Give it to me. And when you walk,
So there you have it. RadioCare, transporting you from the 60s to present day. Join Mike Howard broadcasting from Coventry to the world.
Yes, I am broadcasting from Coventry, like I say, every week on the live show. As you have guessed, this is a recorded show tonight because I thought I'd just like to sort of do something like this for a change. Just record it and then just put it out on Spotify, Spreaker and the Apple Podcast site and see who likes it. So that was Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders from 1979. It's actually released in 1979 and was still in the charts in 1980. Brass in Pocket, it says, was the band's third single from their first big success, scoring number one on the UK singles charts for 2 weeks in January 1980, making it the first new number one single of the 80s. It got to number 2 in Australia and on number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. So another one that did sort of embrace the punk era, but very quickly sort of moved into the new wave sound was Elvis Costello, who I think is really super talented in sort of writing his songs and sort of changing his style sort of over the years. But this one was from 1979 from the album Armed Forces, and this one is Accidents Will Happen.
Oh, I just don't know where to begin. Though it says I'll live forever, it's now or never, but she keeps on hanging on. The silver champion, she says she can't go home without a chaperone. Accidents will happen, we're all hit and run. You used to be a victim, now you're not the only one. Accidents will happen, we're all hit and run. I don't wanna hear it 'cause I know what I've done. There's so many fish in the sea that only rise up in the sweat and smoke like mercury, but they keep you hanging on. They say you're so young, your mind is made up, but your mouth is undone. Accidents will happen, you're all hit and run. You used to be a victim, now you're not the only one. Accidents will happen, you're all hit and run. I don't wanna hear it 'cause I know what I've done. And it's the damage that we do, never know. It's the words that we don't say that scare me so. There's so many people to see, so many people inject upon and add to your collection, but they keep you hanging on until you well hung. Your mouth is made up, but your mind is undone. Accidents will happen, we're all hit and run. You used to be a victim, now you're not the only one. Accidents will happen, we're all hit and run. I don't wanna hear it 'cause I know what I've done.
And that was Elvis Costello, Accidents Will Happen from 1979. As I mentioned earlier, it was on his album Armed Forces, which he recorded with his band The Attractions. It does say that the song was a moderate hit in the UK when released as the second single from Armed Forces, reaching the top 30 in the UK. It was accompanied by an animated music video that has since received acclaim. The song has also been praised by critics and has appeared on numerous compilation and live albums over the years. So this next one is one which you may not sort of consider punk, but it's definitely one sort of in the new wave sort of era, but this one's a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's one from the band Squeeze, which I think are a brilliant band, and it's one of their cheesy ones, which is Call for Cats. And with this song, it's probably one of the few songs which Chris Difford actually sings lead vocals on, sort of accentuating his Cockney accent. The other two songs are Slap and Tickle and Love Circles. Anyway, this one's Call for Cats.
The Indians send signals from the rocks above the pass. The cowboys take position in the bushes and the grass. The score is with the corporal, she is tied against a tree. She doesn't mind the language, it's the beating she don't need. She lets loose all the horses when the corporal is asleep. And he wakes to find the fire's dead and arrows in his axe. And Davy Crockett rides around and says it's call for cats, it's call for cats. The Sweeney's doing 90 cause they've got the word to go. They get a gang of villains in a shed up at Heathrow. They're counting out the fivers when the handcuffs lock again. In and out at Wandsworth with the numbers on their names. It's funny how the missus always looks so bleeding sane. And meanwhile at the station there's a couple of likely lads who swear like how's your father, and they're very cool for cats, they're cool for cats. To change the mood a little, I've been posing down the pub. I'm seeing my reflection, I'm looking slightly rough. I fancy this, I fancy that, I wanna be so flash. I'll give a little muscle and I'll spend a little cash. But all I get is bitter and a nasty little rash. And by the time I'm sober I've forgotten what I've had. And everybody tells me that it's cool to be a cat, cool for cats. Disco when I think I've got a pull. I ask her lots of questions as she hangs onto the wall. I kiss her for the first time and then I take her home. I'm invited in for coffee and I give the dog a bone. She likes to go to discos but she's never on her own. I said I'll see you later and I'll give her some old chat. But it's not like they on the TV when it's called for cats, it's called for cats.
And that was Call for Cats from Squeeze from 1979. Reached number 2 on the UK singles charts, making Call for Cats one of the band's biggest hits. So this next one is one from a band called The Knack. It's probably one of their most famous songs, and this one is My Sharona from 1979.
My motor run,
And that was My Sharona by The Knack from 1979. The Knack was sort of considered one of the sort of new wave bands of that period. It was from their album Get the Knack, and it reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 singles charts, where it remained for 6 weeks and was number 1 on the Billboard's Top of the Pop singles charts of 1979. In the UK it reached number 6, in New Zealand number 3, and in Australia it reached number 1. So this next one is one from Adam and the Ants, and it's from their second album, Kings of the Wild Frontier, and it's the track King of the Wild Frontier. The first album being Dirk Wears White Socks, and Adam Ant had actually sort of been around for a little bit longer than that. The previous year he was in a punk film called Jubilee, which was a Derek Jarman film. I believe Toya Wilcox was in that film as well. So he'd been around sort of like doing stuff for a while. But this was from, like I say, second album in 1980, and it's King of the Wild Frontier.
A new raw family of wild nobility. We are the family. A new raw family of wild nobility. We are the family. A new raw family of wild nobility. We are the family.
And that was Adam and the Ants and Kings of Wild Frontier from 1980. Well, it was originally released in 1980, where it peaked at number 48 on the UK singles charts. But following the breakthrough success of Dog Eat Dog and Ant Music, which was at number 4 and number 2, Kings of the Wild Frontier was re-released in February 81, and this time it got to number 2 on the singles charts. So this next one is one you're going to think, well, that's not a punk song, or it's not a new wave song. That was done by Tiffany. It was done by Tiffany much later, but it's a song that was originally written and recorded by Tommy James, and this version was from 1977 and by a punk band, or New York sort of a punk band called the Rubinos, and this one is I Think We're Alone Now.
That's what they say when we're together. And watch how you play. They don't understand, and so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night. And then you put your arms around me and we tumble to the ground. And then you say, I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. Look at the way we gotta hide what we're doing. 'Cause what would they say if they ever knew? And so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hands, trying to get away into the night. And then you put your arms around me and we tumble to the ground. And then you say, I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound.
You know, I think I actually prefer that version. That was the Rubinos, and I Think We're Alone Now from 1977. Got to number 45 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming their first hit. The group appeared on American Bandstand Live and So It Goes by video. And the Rolling Stones magazine, the 10th anniversary television special, in which they were cast as a garage band performing a tribute to the newly deceased Elvis Presley and morphed into claymation figures. So there you have it. So we're getting very near the end of this set. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I've tried to sort of stick to what I was trying to do, which was to play sort of the punk music as it was emerging, or the punk sound and feel from the late 60s through to sort of like its sort of invasion of the UK and sort of like the youth culture sort of embracing it of 1976, 1977, and then sort of developing into the new wave sound, which became sort of more poppy, sort of for everyone sort of like to listen to, and more sort of mainstream for getting into the charts. So this next one is one from Hazel O'Connor. It's from 1980 and it's from her album Breaking Glass. This one is Eighth Day, and Hazel O'Connor was very influenced sort of by the sort of punk sound and that sort of new wave sound, and here we go.
Green and blue for bye. On the fourth we send rockets to the sky. On the fifth metal beasts and submarines. On the sixth man prepares his final dream. In our image let's make robots for our slaves. Imagine all the time that we can save. Computers, machines, the silicon dream. 70 retired from the scene, and he said behold what I have done. World for everyone. Nobody laugh, nobody cry. All without end, forever and ever. Amen. 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 On the eighth day, machine just got upset. A problem man had not foreseen as yet. Blinding light, and nothing but a void forever night. He said, behold, what man has done. There's not a world or anyone. Nobody laughed, nobody cried. All that's an end, everyone has died. Forever, amen, amen, amen. He said, behold, what man has done. There's not the world for anyone. Nobody laughed, nobody cried. All that's an end, everyone has died. Forever,
And that was Eighth Day by Hazel O'Connor from 1980. As I mentioned earlier, it was from her soundtrack album Breaking Glass. Reached number 5 on the UK singles charts, making it her first top 10 hit and her biggest charting placing to date. It does say that Hazel O'Connor wrote the song in 12 hours before it was recorded as a parallel story of the Book of Genesis, where man made the earth in his own image, and having unleashed the elements he cannot control, the man-made machine monsters take over. So this next one is one from the band Talking Heads. If I remember rightly, the Talking Heads were a New York-based punk band that sort of started around about 1975, I think it was. So just before sort of like the punk scene really took off sort of within sort of like the UK, America and sort of Australia. And they sort of went the whole journey, really. They sort of went through the sort of punk sort of scene, experimental sort of sounds. Then they went sort of like to the new wave sort of sound. So this is one, a very much later one, probably the last one sort of like from that sort of new wave sound, probably very more mainstream sort of poppy for them, really. And this one is Road to Nowhere, and it's from 1985.
Well, we know where we're going, but we don't know where we've been. And we know what we're knowing, but we can't say what we've seen. And we're not little children, and we know what we want, and the future is certain. Give us time to work it out. Yeah. We're on the road to nowhere. Come on inside. Take a night ride to nowhere. We'll take that ride. Feeling okay this morning, and you know we're on the road to paradise. Here we go, here we go. We're on a ride to nowhere. Come on inside. Taking that ride to nowhere. We'll take that ride. Maybe wonder where you are. I don't care. Here is where time is on our side. Take you there. Take you there. We're on a road to nowhere. We're on a road to nowhere. City in my mind, come along and take that ride. It's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day. And it's alright, baby, it's alright. Would you like to come along and help me sing this song? It's alright, baby, it's alright. There's a city in my mind, come along and take that ride. It's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day. It's alright, baby, it's alright. And would you like to come along and help me sing this song? And it's alright, baby, it's alright. Gonna tell you what to do, 'cause I made a fool of you. It's alright, baby, it's alright. We're on a road to nowhere. Hey! We're on a road to nowhere. We're on a road to nowhere. We're on a road to nowhere.
Go on, how many people sung in harmony with them at the end of that song? That was Talking Heads and Road to Nowhere from 1985. It got to number 6 in the UK, Germany and South Africa. And it was also got to number 8 on the Dutch top 40. So we're at the end of the set, and like I said, earlier on. I hope you've enjoyed what you've been listening to. And if you do enjoy any of the shows, if you're listening to it on Spreaker, you've got the opportunity to like. So hit the like button, and that will show how many people sort of like listen to it and sort of like it. If you do sort of enjoy sort of what I'm putting out. I'm going to be doing the live show this Saturday the 8th of January as normal, and that's more of a classic acoustic show. And the following week I'm doing one called For the Crooners. So that'll be sort of stuff sort of like from sort of like Dean Martin, Matt Monro and Sinatra and them sort of people. I just thought that'd be something different for people to listen to. So to play us out now at the end of the night, this one is one from Public Image Limited, which was a band that John Lydon went on to form after leaving the Sex Pistols. He was a bit sort of disillusioned sort of like with the Sex Pistols at the end and the whole thing with it, so he went on to form PIL, or Public Image Limited. And this particular song is one of my favourite ones from them. This one is from 1986 and it's Rise. It says that the single released by post-punk group Public Image Limited, it was the first single from the album, their 5th studio album. The song was written by John Lydon. I'm trying to see what else. He did actually perform it in 2013. No, the song was written about Nelson Mandela. He sort of mentioned in an interview at Glastonbury in 2013. Lydon also referred to the alleged Royal Ulster Constabulary interrogation techniques and how he sort of disapproved sort of all that. Anyway, it got to number 11 on the UK singles charts. And it contains some sort of verses in there which are very similar to the Irish sort of verses. May the road rise up with you, which is direct from an old Irish blessing. Anyway, if you like the song, I hope you sort of do enjoy it, and like I say, hopefully if you can tune in sort of next week and listen to some of the other sort of back catalogue of shows. I think there's about 45 on there now, so there's plenty to choose from. Anyway, take care, and hopefully you can join me on Saturday. Bye.
Could be wrong, I could be right. Could be wrong, I could be wrong, I could be right. I could be black, I could be white. I could be right, I could be wrong. I could be white, I could be black. Your time has come, your second skin. The cost so high, the game so low. Walk through the valley. The written word is a lie. May the road rise with you. 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 Could be wrong, I could be right. Could be wrong, I could be right. I could be wrong, I could be right. I could be black, I could be white. I could be right, I could be right. Could be wrong. I could be right. I could be wrong. I could be right. I could be black. I could be white. I could be right. I could be wrong. I could be black. I could be white. Your time has come. Your second skin. Cross so high, the game so low. Walk through the valley. The written word is a lie. May the road rise with you. 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 Could be wrong. I could be right. Could be wrong. They put a hot wire to my head 'cause of the things I did and said. They made these feelings go away. I'm all citizen in every way. Your time has come, your second skin. Cost so high, the game so low. May the road rise with you. 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 Anger is an energy. 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 Anger is an
So there you have it. RadioCare, transporting you from the 60s to present day. Join Mike Howard broadcasting from Coventry to the world.